Can I ask one more question? Okay, so we've also kind of talked about this a little bit, as well as your, I guess, like vibration and talking about your inner being. And I've come across this concept recently. It's from a book called The Case Against Reality. And more or less the idea is that this behavioral evolutionary biologist realized that after, this will make sense, I think it'll connect, but he did all this research and he found that evolutionary for humans, we didn't evolve to perceive reality. We evolved to survive. And his basic case, he calls us like conscious agents, but his basic case is that whatever we're perceiving isn't necessarily real. I think he kind of goes to the sense that like it's vibration. These things are vibration, and then we're perceiving them, and then it has implications on how we are in the world. And that concept of that we are vibrational in a vibrational space kind of overlaps with a lot we talk about. And it just made me start thinking, is there anything there that could bring up something new around how to be really deliberate when I'm meditating or when any of us meditate? Is there anything there that kind of connects between us being vibrational agents, creating our environment, which impact how we are creating with it? Am I making sense?
You are making sense. We get why that concept felt compelling to you.
Yes.
But these are the flawed premises in it.
I'm sure there's some, yeah, for sure. I'm not tied to it at all, by the way.
Well, it's all right. We don't care if you are or not. But
it seemed like it was drawing towards something interesting or maybe compelling in a way that would allow me to
the title
create.
The title was interesting. The title is A Case Against Reality. Well, we are making a case against current reality all the time, because if you're focused upon what is, you can't allow what you're asking for. But that's as far as our harmony went with what you explained.
Yeah.
Because
maybe I'm not explaining.
It doesn't matter. You are the creators of your reality, not the observers of it. And that survival thing, you see, the thing that is a flawed premise in that is that, let's say that you're one of the early ones here and you are in the process of creating your own reality, even from the first way of describing you as you. And as you are in what from this future place looks back on, and you see that early evolution, you would say it was only about survival, but it was still forward-looking in those days. If you're not surviving, then there's not much going to go on beyond that, is there? It's like this. This will be the easier way for you to hear it. When Esther first began receiving us, it wasn't like this. Didn't want anything like this. This is weird. So she was receiving impulses to go to her typewriter, and she'd get the impulse, and then she typed 120 words a minute at that time. And when we flowed into her relaxed mind, brilliant things poured from her fingertips. And then one day they were going to visit some friends, and they were going to introduce their friends to what was going on. And Esther said, "Should I take my typewriter?" And we said, "No need to do that. They have one just like it." And when they got there, they had an identical IBM Selectric typewriter just like Esther's. Then later, Esther said, "Should I move to the word processors?" Word processors were just coming into being. This was 1985. And we said, "Stick with what you've got for now, because it's easier for you to receive." In other words, reaching too far into something new would hinder what she already had going on. That is the best description of evolution of anything that we could give you. In other words, what is always going to be dominant, therefore evolution is always going to be slow, because what is always going to be dominant, and therefore what is always going to hold you back to what is. So then some brilliant person understands that, and they make a case against reality, because they realize that you can't create a new reality if the current reality is so dominant, and then everything else that you said to us came from that premise.
And he thinks that we're just perceiving these things, that we all are like conscious agents that are just generating reality together.
True.
So my question was, if I'm just a conscious agent and we're all conscious agents.
Not just if I am a conscious agent that gets to focus thought into reality.
And create reality. I guess my question is there anything else inside of meditating or meditating on that I should consider, anything new?
Yes.
That could come out of?
Yes, this is the way we've described that. We say, quiet your mind by focusing on your breathing or something else that's boring, something that doesn't get your mind all activated. And as you do that, your resistance will subside. When your resistance subsides, or frankly, when any of your conscious thought subsides, your inner being thought will dominate and your vibrational frequency will rise. If you can sustain that without hesitation for a little while, then these are our words. Then watch the movie if there is one. And this goes to something that we were talking about earlier also today. And that is, how do you know? This comes up all the time. Abraham, you're like a schizophrenic. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to be deliberate? Do you want us to script? Do you want us to think about what we want? Or do you want us to just quiet our minds and not think about anything? And we say, we want you to know what emotional, vibrational state you're in before you even ask that question. If you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, like you very well may be after meditation, and so you're in sync with everything that you put into your vortex, lots of strong thoughts and planning will feel really good to you, will be really compelling to you, will be exciting to you, and will be satisfying. In other words, we don't want you to just quiet your mind and receive. We want you to quiet your mind and receive the connection and then work together in tandem. These were your opening words to us today, or someone just a bit ago. Work together in tandem with all that you are.
So is watching that the creation as well?
Witnessing it.
Witnessing
You're witnessing because
it
it's being
created.
It's being revealed to you, but very few of you actually are realizing what's being revealed. But when you're consciously witnessing it, and why would you be consciously witnessing it? Because you planned it, because you know the rules of the game, because you know about the law of attraction, because you've got a handle on your own emotions, because you're deliberate about what you do. When you don't feel good, you do something about it. So you're tuned to who you are. And then when those thoughts start to flow to the total self that you are being in that moment, that blended, then the ideas flow and the rivers of satisfaction do too. And you get big results that most of the world stands back and watches and says, how could that even be? You took a quantum leap. Well, it wasn't a quantum leap for you. You practiced yourself incrementally right into those high frequencies.
So that's what's been happening.
That is what's happening.
And so, and I picked up on that a couple months ago, maybe like a year or two ago, is that in that state, when I'm visualizing, I'm not looking at something that I want to have happen, I'm actually seeing it being created.
You're seeing something that already has been created, which is enhancing your expectation for it to come into your experience. But there's a whole lot more satisfaction that's going to come beyond that point. But if that point can be all you care about, if that's enough satisfaction, then there is no limitation on what else will flow.
And you notice it is.
But most people need some results or evidence before they let themselves believe, and that's what the holdup is.
I don't feel like I need that anymore, or less and less. And is there anything else inside of that that could be explored more?
Enjoying the process of being a creator. And understanding that what the creator is creating is the creator himself.
Yeah. The creator is creating.
In other words,
Yeah.
It's like someone saying to us, I'm an actor, but I don't want those roles that are negative, because if I practice feeling like that, won't I be attracting that? And we say, yeah, people do that all the time. However, you could also be an actor and know that you are an actor who is generating that emotion in order to produce that, and save yourself the trouble of creating those things in your own life experience because you understand who you are.
Yeah. And you're seeing what you are, not something outside of you. The thing you're creating is.
But how do you separate, creator, yourself from your creations?
You can't.
That's why we're asking you to be the creator who creates, first and foremost, and let the creations be secondary. In other words, I only care about feeling good, and if I produce wonderful things, then that's good too. It's quite an interesting way of looking at it, because we're asking you to hold things as your object of attention for the purpose of inducing feelings within you, which indicate alignment with energy, which will allow you to create anything without being invested in what you're creating. Because if you're invested in what you're creating, then there's a tendency to notice when it hasn't happened yet, or to notice that it's happened too slowly. So if the whole thing is because it's so darn fun to do it, rather than, can you feel the difference?
So the so darn fun to do it. What
You're reaching for is clarity and dexterity,
yeah,
and a fast-moving mind and intuitiveness and good timing and knowing it when you see it and being able to follow the trail of it. It's like the athlete in this analogy, the way we are seeing the athlete is that he's enjoying being in a body that performs like that more than winning the race. It's the feeling of a body that performs like that more than getting the trophy that's assigned by somebody else.